Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Grant Russell coming to you live from Transwest Truck Trailer RV in Frederick, Colorado. Hope everybody's doing well out there. And as you saw from that exterior shot we just had, we're inside of it right now. We've got a 2021 Newmar Dutch Star 4328 floor plan. Stock number on this one's 5U210684. If you're wanting to look for it on our website, that's the number. And so let's just get started. So we're in a 4328 floor plan here. Some cool things I just wanted to kind of run through on this model here is just to point out some technology features that goes into the Dutch Star. So they don't slack on entertainment here. You've got a 50-inch Samsung TV here, smart television. You got a smart TV, 43-inch up overhead. You've got the Bose soundbar overhead here. We've got induction cooktops. There's no propane on this coach. We've got true induction cooktop that's removable. You can take it outside if you'd like. You've got the convection microwave oven right up above me here. You have, come all the way to the back here, we've got Whirlpool all-electric refrigerator. And then just something to point out, if we've got the rollaway dinette here. So this comes all the way out. There's a couple of folding chairs that can join it. And then we've got the opposing door side, they call it, swivel rocker recliners here. Something else I want to point out here towards the back, this does have the central vacuum system that says InterVac. So it's got the InterVac central vacuum system here, little kick plate, kick that up there and you can sweep everything inside there and your hose attachments will go here. This is a bath and a half floor plan, so we've got the bath and a half here. Coming to the back here, we've got a king size Sleep Number mattress. Oh, and by the way, so this does have the optional electronic MCD day and night roller shades. So if I want to operate those, you can simply just, with the click of a button, as you can see, I've got it on just that one right now operating, but it does operate your day and your night shades. Something else I'll point out, all of your lighting system in this coach, it does have the multiplex lighting throughout. So you'll have these different panels throughout the coach where you can turn all your lights on and off. If you notice right above here, this has a optional electric heat below floor tile, so that features on this coach. And also just mentioning tile, so you've got all tile floor throughout the coach. There's no carpet. And if you come to the back here, so I'm in the master bathroom. I'm 6'2", 225 pounds. I'm a pretty good sized guy. I've got plenty of headroom, plenty of room here. So this is a very roomy bathroom here. This has a stackable washer dryer in the back. Good storage. It does have a safe. I'll move out of the way. There's a safe back in the back there. There's all your hoses for the central vac. Double vanity sink. Lots of storage for the medicine cabinet area. It's got a plug back behind here so you can hide your razor, or curling iron, or whatever you want to store back behind there. And then you got these pocket doors that close off the master bath, as well as another pocket door you've got here to close off the bedroom from the front there. Why don't we head up front here, Jody? Today we've got a special guest that's joined us today from FCCC, or Freightliner Custom Chassis Corporation. So this is Mr. Joe Schneider. He's going to do a little talk about the drive tech on this, and we're going to look at the underside of a 2021 Ventana that we've got staged outside.
Grant, thank you so much. I really appreciate Transwest and all that you do to inform your customers about what is in the coach and what's underneath the coach. And we got that opportunity last time I was here. If you haven't seen that video, definitely want to look up a Dutch Star and see all of the chassis components that are underneath the Dutch Star. Like you said, we're gonna look under a Ventana here in a little bit. All of those cool technology features Grant was talking about, we think they're awesome. But we think they're even better because you get to take them wherever you want to go, and Freightliner Custom Chassis gets to help you do that. So one of the things that people ask me though, they'll say, why Freightliner? And you know, there's a lot of different reasons why Freightliner that we're gonna share with you today. But one of the things that we like to ask our customers back is, what's important to you? And generally our customers come up with the top two answers, I kid you not, are both service related. One is you have 450 locations around the country, and we have 24/7 direct help. Now, we talk about here at Transwest, they're kind of a unique location for RVers to purchase from. Why? Because not only do they sell RVs, but they sell trucks too. Freightliner trucks, Western Star trucks. And so when you talk about having the experts who can not only sell you the coach, but they can also take care of the chassis because they're the experts of the chassis too. So, but today on the theme of technology, Grant mentioned Drive Tech, and we have Drive Tech right here. Drive Tech is this steering wheel, the column controls, and the OptiView display panel here. I'm going to turn that on. You can see all the lights coming up on it, and it's going to start with the tire pressure monitoring system, and that generally you do need to go down the road just a bit for all of those to check in, but those will check in and give you your tire pressure monitoring. Now on my steering wheel here, if I hit the home button, it will bring up the main menu, and from the main menu we can go through a lot of things. Now, one thing I forgot to say is, as you're getting seated in your coach, keep these three things in mind. I like to say, start with your feet, get your seat where you want it. From there, have your armrest down. Always drive with your armrest down so that as you're driving down the road, your armrests, your arms are anchored and you're not driving like this. It's going to give you a much more steady ride. So it's feet, seat, steering wheel, and then mirrors. So if you can remember those four things when you're getting into your coach, that's just going to give you a much more comfortable ride as you're going down the road. So in this coach in particular here, you can see it says engine brake here on the stock, off, low, medium, and high. This has a 3-stage brake on it. Traditionally, engine brakes were somewhere on the dash and you had to reach for them as you're going down the road. Well, we wanted to put safety in the hands of our customers, so we say it's hands-on, heads up, safety first. And so as you're going down the road, you don't need to take your hand off the steering wheel to activate the engine brake. And it's going to show right up here on your screen that it's in low, and then it'll show medium, and then it'll show high. And again, I never had to take my hands off the steering wheel to show you or to use the engine brake. And again, that goes to safety, keeping your hands on the wheel, your eyes on the road, and not having to reach for something. NHTSA reports that 65% of accidents happen on the road because of, somebody taking their eyes off the road and being distracted. So we wanted to eliminate that. Now you might see how fancy this screen is up here. We're very proud of it. Again, it's called OptiView, and OptiView was designed by Mercedes-Benz design engineers with RVers. So we hired them to go out and create this dash specifically for the RV industry. And how could we get Mercedes-Benz? Well, we're Daimler Trucks North America company. Daimler also owns Mercedes-Benz cars, so we're sister companies with Mercedes-Benz. That's why we can use our sister companies' design and technology and put it into RVs today for you. Now, also over here, I'm going to go ahead and start this up. You can see this has a feature on it called Comfort Drive. Comfort Drive automatically straightens your wheel. So if I turn the wheel and I let go of it, it's going to go back to 0. And so when you're parking, you're going somewhere, and you make a bunch of turns, you can let go of your steering wheel, it goes back to 0. It naturally wants to reside there. Let me hit the home button again. Now that we've got it started, you can see all the gauges. All your air gauges are up here. You also have a temperature gauge for your transmission and temperature gauge for your, for your coolant. You have your fuel gauge here. You also have your battery and your oil pressure. So those are the base gauges that you have access to. Now, on my steering wheel, there is it looks like a couple of file folders, what you'd see on a computer. But if you press that button on your screen, will pop up the gauges. Now, if I continue to hit that button, it will actually scroll through those gauges, and I could have different gauges in front of me. And if I wanted to change one of those gauges, I can just press the down arrow button, select OK on my steering wheel. It'll flash. Then I can scroll through a different setting that I want, and I'll stop there. That's my diesel exhaust fluid level. So, or maybe I want my turbo pressure. So then from there I can press OK, and it will hold that. And if that's the last 3 gauges that I leave on the screen, those are the 3 gauges that will be there the next time I get into that part of the screen. Now if I hit the home button again, it takes me back to the home menu. We can look at trip, mileage. Inside of that we can also look at the distance, time, fuel used, average fuel economy. And if we look at this, the idle time, it's got a lot of idle time. When they're sitting at dealerships and they're showing these to customers, they're going to show high idle and low fuel economy because it's not going anywhere. And again, I can hit the back arrow button and go back, and this is another access to gauges that we just saw before, as well as fuel economy. That's the current fuel economy. Again, a lot of idle time there. Tire pressure, so if you want to go and check the tire pressure, we can go there. Those are all going to be set at the dealership. So once you've purchased your coach, what we want you to do is plan to make a trip to a weigh station. Get the coach how you want to drive in it, and then make sure you have all those things that you're going to take with you. Take the coach to a weigh station, and then you can take those weights into the booklet, the Michelin booklet. It will tell you exactly how much pressure you need to put into each tire. And if you need training on that, they can do that with you right here at Transwest. I'm going to scroll on down. This particular coach has what's called Road Watch. So if you're really into technology and you're really into safety, Road Watch is a big deal because it has a cruise control setting that means it will adapt to the cars that are in front of you. So with adaptive cruise control, you can choose to be closer or further away, depending on your comfort level going down the road and what kind of distance you want from the vehicle in front of you. And so as you set that up and you go into cruise control, a car gets in front of you and it slows down, your coach will slow down. Not only that, but this coach is so smart, it will tell you what speed is that car in front of you going, how many seconds away from you it is, and how many feet behind it you are. So there's a lot of data in there to make sure that you feel safe and in control at all times. Now, the other features that Road Watch include are collision mitigation. If you are not in cruise control or you are in cruise control, it doesn't matter. If a car slows down too quickly, this coach will actually brake for you. Now, it may not always mitigate the accident altogether, but it can help mitigate how dangerous that accident could be. So also you want to talk about roll stability in coaches. And this coach, if you get into a situation where it could start to roll over, the coach will actually release the accelerator and brake to certain brake positions to keep you upright. So there's a lot of things that go into Road Watch, and if we want to learn more about Road Watch, please go to our website at fcccrv.com and read about the additional features of Road Watch. Vehicle configuration. We can do dash brightness. To do dash brightness, you want to make sure that you turn on your lights, and then you can turn, oops, I better back up here. I got ahead of myself. Press OK, and then you can increase or decrease the brightness. Put it back to lights off, and the brightness comes back to full amount. I'm going to back up one step, and then you can pair your phone with Bluetooth, And what we want you to do is not only to connect Bluetooth with OptiView, which if you say it's going to come up and it's going to say OptiView and have a number after that, that's what you're going to look for on your phone when you're pairing it to Bluetooth. But we also want you to pair it to the radio, because the radio and the speakers, which are sound control right here on your steering wheel, are all connected. So you can see if a call's coming in on your screen in front of you. You don't have to look away, and you can control the volume of that call right here, just like you can control the radio volume right here. I'm going to go back one step, go down to device priority if you want. I'm going to back up another step, standard units or metric if you're headed into Canada. Steering effort, okay, I spoke to you before, they have what's called comfort drive, and you can select how much effort you want to have at the steering wheel as you're going down the road. This makes life real easy. Not only is it the effort to turn, it also is going to fight wind shear. So when you're going around different parts of the country and you get high winds, you want to avoid having to steer into it all the time. You can steer into it for up to 30 seconds. And then your steering wheel is going to go back to center, and Comfort Drive will fight that for you. So it's a super nice feature to keep you comfortable and confident as you're driving down the road in all driving situations. And then back to a reset if you want to do a reset. Diagnostics, this is pretty amazing too. You can, your faults, if you want to look at faults, internal diagnostics, transmission, prognostics, system information, radar alignment, a lot of this stuff that you won't ever have to get into, but just so you know, the technicians or anyone that needs to look into this, or if you want to learn more about it, you can call our technicians at 1-800-FTL-HELP, and they will help walk you through each one of these. For example, transmission prognostics. It's in plain English. It's no longer in some code that you have to write down and then look up in a booklet. It's in plain English. Hey, oil life 98%, filter status okay, transmission temp is low. You do need to get transmission temperatures up to a higher level to really, there it goes. It just went up. Usually when you're not driving, that doesn't come on. System information, that's really about the software that runs all of this system here. And then also we have internal diagnostics. So right now my headlamps are off, but I want to know, are my headlamps working? I can turn them on and it'll say on right there. Are my service brakes working? I can press on my service brakes, it says they're working. I can turn my turn signal on. Yep, turn signal's working. If your lights aren't working, it's going to tell you that the light's not working too. So it's a really easy to use system, and because everything is not in engineer ease, it makes it really nice to use. If you want the menu off, turn the menu off. You have a nice clean space in front of you as you're going down the road. So those are some of the features of Road Watch and Drive Tech. Hopefully that becomes a little bit more clear how to use. We just finished, and you can find it on YouTube, what's called an explainer video that rolls through all of the information that I just showed you here. One other thing I would like to show you is right here on this paddle. When you put a coach into drive, it's going to tell you on the screen that you're in drive, and it's also going to tell you what gear you're in. And in some situations, you may be in traffic or you may be climbing a mountain, and it goes into 5th or 6th gear too early, and you wanted to get more speed out of the engine. You can actually paddle shift down and up, and it'll put you in a manual top gear. So once this coach gets up to 3rd gear right now, it won't pass 3rd gear until you tell it it can go to 4th. And it won't pass 4th gear until you tell it to go up. Now you can cancel that and go back to drive by just tapping the A button here. And that takes you back to drive. Another way to do that is to go ahead and just toggle all the way up to drive. So there's 2 ways you can do that. Also, there's what's called a mode button here. On the mode button, you hold it down, economy pops up. Now you're in economy mode. When you hold down that mode button again, performance pops up, and now you're back at your starting point, which is always the starting point for our transmissions is performance mode. So I hope that that's been informative about, you know, drive tech and why we've done this, and that you really enjoy it as you're going down the road. Really, we consider RVers at the Class A level, they are our dream achievers.
Right.
You know, these are the people that are taking it to the highest level. And I see one of these going down the road. I hope one day I'm driving one of these going down the road too, at this level. And then this is a dream manifested, just going down the road. So we want to honor that as much as we can and make sure that we take very good care of you. So as cool as all this stuff is here, sometimes it's kind of nice to see what's underneath. And we don't get that opportunity that often to show our customers. We'd like to do that for you today.
Yeah. So why don't we go outside and take a look at this Ventana. Joe, thanks for demonstrating that drive tech and showing us all those. I learned a few things from just watching overhead there. So
very good.
Come on out here and we'll take a look at the underside of this Ventana here.
So one of the main differences right off the bat I just want to mention is the Dutch Star has an independent front suspension, which is a great suspension.
Right.
I mean, that you're going to get such a beautiful ride out of that. We always talk about independent front suspension, right? Your wheels here, your wheels here. Hit a bump over here, it doesn't affect this side. So the stability and the ride quality is just amazing.
Now, I've got a question for you. I mean, this is a Dutch Star. This is a Ventana, higher price point than the Ventana, with the independent front suspension. It's using, what do they call that, the ZF?
Yep.
The ZF IFS, or independent front suspension.
Right.
And there's another company out there, I think, that uses that. Is it Rolls?
Prevost.
Rolls-Royce? Or
Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce is the parent company.
And then Prevost.
Prevost uses it, Setra Bus uses it, Van Hool uses it, every major bus company. And these are those big, massive buses that really need a lot of stability and a great ride quality, and that's why they're used worldwide. But you don't really think you would find that in that price level of coach, right?
Exactly, yeah.
The same one you'd find in a $2-3 million coach is right there in that. But the secret that we have is our I-beam front axle that you find underneath the Ventana. We try and make it feel as much like that as possible, and we want to share a little bit about that with you.
Yeah, so if you come underneath here, what he's talking about on the I-beam is going to be coming straight across here. And then, I think earlier you were pointing something out here. I don't know if you can get up underneath here, Jody, but this is the steer, and that's connected to the belt crank, right?
Yeah.
Is that right here?
Yeah.
So the steer is going to be up here, actually.
This is the I-beam axle, and again, with the I-beam axle, you have a wheel on either end of it. If you hit a bump here, obviously the whole thing moves, and that could affect, the other side, and that maybe not give you as good a ride. But we put these, we put this system in here, so if you hit a bump on this side, what will happen is we want to dissipate that noise. On other chassis out there with a single I-beam front axle, you hit a bump on one side or the other and your steering wheel might move around in your hands. We wanted to eliminate that and make it feel like an independent front suspension. So what we did is, from right here, this is what's called a pitman arm, or also we'll call it a steering arm today. This comes out of the gearbox, steering gearbox, okay? That moves back and forth to steer the wheel back there. Now, what we did was we put a brake in the middle of it, and that brake is on the exact same pivot point as the axle spring hanger here. So you have an axle spring hanger that wants to pivot up and down right there. So if it's going to pivot, we say we need to put a pivot in the steering linkage too and let them pivot together. That way the customer never feels that vibration from the road. It doesn't feel like they're out of control. They feel totally in control. And it really does seem
Or the combination of what you're describing here, and earlier you had mentioned, as an owner and you load these coaches down, these tires are inflated to full PSI, and And if you go weigh the coach after you actually load the coach, and you set the different tire pressures according to scale in the book and the Michelin book, along with all this, you don't get all that vibration. It'll be a much smoother ride.
Yeah, that's one thing we've taken a lot of care in, is just to make sure that you're going to have this great ride. So if we put all that technology into the bell crank and into this axle, and then if a customer ever calls and says, hey, I don't feel like this is driving quite right, call us. We want to hear from you, because we have the answer. And generally it's pretty simple. Hey, let's coach you on how to put the right tire pressure in it. Whichever the heaviest position is, that's the weight you're going to take into the booklet based on the tire that you have on your coach. And it's going to tell you exactly how much PSI. And then from that heaviest one, you're going to put actually the same amount of PSI across the axle. So that's a really good
Very
point.
interesting, yeah.
We do take so much effort and to make sure you have this awesome ride that you deserve at the Dream Achiever status and level. So make sure you call us if you have a question about your ride quality, for sure. Right, while we're looking at it.
Yep. We got the air actuated disc brakes on the front axle.
So these disc brakes were actually designed and developed for the fuel hauler industry. And in the fuel hauler industry, the life of those brakes is probably about 6 months. But in the RV industry, the life of these brakes will be about 250,000 miles. So as long as you're using them properly in the mountains, get on your brakes, get off your brakes, get on your brakes, get off your brakes, let them cool. As long as you brake properly, those brakes should last you the life of the coach. So those are the types of components, again, that you should expect at buying a coach at this level too. Coming on back here, you can see right here, there's the fuel tank. How many gallons of fuel in this one?
We got 100 gallons of fuel, the Ventana.
And if you look straight up here too, you can see the air tanks. So the air tanks are right up underneath the coach here. They're even labeled wet tank, secondary tank, primary tank.
I had a question. So like, somebody wants to bleed the air out of there, you can actually see them now that we have this up here. So something you pointed out to us earlier, Joe, is I don't know if I can reach it, but if you see this, almost like a fish hook right here, but if you pull that line, you can bleed. Isn't that where you bleed the air system out?
So these tanks have an automatic moisture ejection valve on them, and in the case that maybe one of those seized up and they weren't working properly, we want our customers to pull on those drain lanyards just for a few seconds and twice a year, and just make sure that no water's coming out. If it spits a little bit of water, not a big deal. Just let it spit that little bit of water out. If you just hear air, perfect. Everything's working fine. And if you pull on that and there's just a gush of water coming out, something's not working properly, take it into the Freightliner dealer. That's when you're going to try to get all that water out before you go in, make sure your brakes are working properly.
Right.
But yeah, there's 3 drain lanyards. There's 2 on this side, and then there's 1 on the other. Just make sure that there's the other one over here.
Yeah.
You can see these
right here. Can't quite reach it.
You can see these airbags up front, and they're kind of squashed right now, but these airbags also have a little bit of a bell housing underneath them, but they also have a ping tank. So if you come back under here again, you can see this blue line comes out of the top of the airbag, and it runs to the back side of this tank here. That's a ping tank. Ping tank holds additional air. So the air in the ping tank and the air in the airbag are actually being compressed as you're going down the road. So whenever you hit a bump, that airbag gets compressed and really eliminates that jolt up through the coach. It's compressing not only the air in the airbag, but also the air in the ping tank. So,
should we move to the back?
Let's do it. Man, they do a really nice job just kind of
everything's clean.
keeping it clean underneath.
Sealed, clean. We'll come back here to the back. So I don't know if any of you guys have heard of the branded name that Freightliner has. Is we got V-Ride is on the back of the coach. So this is great because you never see what V-ride is. And if you come up underneath here, and Joe can explain it, you can actually see where the actual V is at.
So it's straight up here. This is part of this is where it gets its name, the V bars, going from side, or V blades, excuse me. And that width of steel right there and the thickness of that steel really help dissipate any kind of road noise, but also keep us steady as we're going down the road. And so that's why we gave it the name V-Ride. And then if you look here and here, these are the trailering arms coming back. And you notice there's two of them, but they've been welded together. So that gives them additional support and stiffness. They're not going to be, able to move side to side. And that stiffness actually comes out here to this 5-inch transverse beam. That transverse beam is actually on the inside of this. We've patented a process to crimp and weld this transverse beam to the trailing arm. So you can imagine this one big U shape underneath the coach is like a gigantic track bar, help keeping the coach super stable. Going into a highway turn, 45, 50 mile per hour, and the coach holds it. It doesn't lean to the outside. Again, giving you the ultimate control. And that's something that no one else in the industry does today. If you could see what some other companies are doing right now, they still have a trailing arm coming back and it swivels from side to side. And we used to use the same technology back in 1999. But coaches have changed and the weights have changed. The amenities have increased. And so the amount of stability that we need to offer to the industry has continued to change what we offer as a suspension in the rear drive axle.
Going back to the V-Ride, Joe, so, brand X, we'll call it. It's not the V-Ride. In order to align it, and you always hear about they're having to cut the axles to
they cut welds. So generally
cut the welds. I mean, that's what I mean, cut the welds.
Yeah. So generally, you can see right here. If you look up here, you can see this silver medallion with a square hole in it, and that really tells you you've got V-Ride for sure. And you'll notice that there's no welds on the outside of this ring. If you look at other manufacturers, they're going to have welds that are tack welds, and that holds the crimping power in place, right? So, but sometimes, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes we need to do an alignment on the rear suspension or rear axle. And in order to do that on the other brands, and what we used to offer too, we would have to break the welds and then line it, tack weld it, and then check it, and maybe you have to break that tack weld and then align it and tack weld it until we got it right, and then they would weld that solid. So you don't have to do that with V-Ride. V-Ride, we have a tool that actually releases the crimping power. You can line it up, tighten it back up, and it takes a job from being a $3,000 job to an $800 job. And it eliminates having to weld underneath a beautiful coach like this.
That's a big thing.
So
a lot less labor.
It's one of the many little details that just make it better for ownership in the long run. And just the stability that this gives you. I mean, you think about it. Even pulling out of a driveway in most coaches, the coach is going to go like this.
Yeah.
And this coach might lean a little bit and then halfway back, but then it's immediately straightens up. You're not waiting for it. You're not feeling like you're out of control. I can't tell you how many times I went down a back road in Indiana making a turn in an older coach and feeling like, wow, this thing could tip over.
Oh yeah, I've done it myself. You slow it down. Yep.
So again, we were talking about volumetric airbags before. This is a true volumetric airbag right here. Volumetric airbag means not only do you have the airbag up here, but you don't have a ping tank like we talked about before. This would be in place of the ping tank, a bell housing shape that allows more air on the inside. So you have air inside here, you have air inside the airbags, and now as you're going down the road, you still get that soft ride. Even though you have all that side-to-side stability with hard parts, you're still getting a soft ride with the airbags and, of course, sack shocks. So we use sack shocks for our suspension.
I noticed that sack shocks all the way around it, on the back and the front.
And you'll notice they're gold. Their color is gold. Those sack shocks are, again, parent company, Rolls-Royce. You know, some
Okay.
people say, "Oh, I got a Freightliner," and then they go, "It's just a Freightliner. Everybody uses Freightliner." Well, every Freightliner we build is different. We don't always get to put all of the cool stuff on our
Depends on how they're
coaches.
spec'd by the
Right.
manufacturers.
We always use sack shocks, but even the sack shocks from this coach won't go on another coach because it'll have its own special part number, because each company wants their own ride quality. So we build the ride quality in based on the floor plan for each manufacturer.
Makes sense.
So yeah, it takes extra time because we have to bring in sacks. They bring in their Night Rider trailer with all this technology inside, and then as we're going down the road with the test shocks, we'll dial it up, we'll dial it down, and then they get to decide exactly what ride quality they want, and that becomes their part number. But that's what it really
Very
takes
cool.
to.
So we're back here on the tag axle. So something that you were pointing out to us earlier was how the sack shocks. So they're outboard. They're mounted on the outside of the actual
Frame rails.
frame
yeah.
rails.
Yeah.
So that's where you get a lot of your stability there as well.
So yeah, with the V Ride, you know, you have dual wheels, so you have two wheels on your drive axle. But with the steerable tag axle, which we call Ultra Steer only has one tire. So because of that, we've taken our trailing arms and we've brought them as far out as we can to give additional stability. And then also we have, like you mentioned, the shock absorbers out here, and other brands are putting their shock absorbers inside the frame rails. So the road noise has to travel all the way from outside to inside the frame rail for the shocks to really be effective. And that's why it's so important to have, you know, all of this additional stability. If you go to take this coach out with a tag axle on it, with V-Ride on it, you know, Ultra Steer, it is the ultimate in stability going down the road. And one thing we didn't mention, you know, we talked about how beautiful that floor is covered right there. Everything's protected underneath the coach.
Oh, sure.
Is Star Foundation.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we could show it on the Dutch Star. Yeah,
Well, we can
open that all
definitely
up.
show that out. It's really important if you've got all this stability back here, holding the heaviest part of the coach stable, to have a nice foundation all the way to the front that's, you know, 25, 30 feet up to where the driver is. Now the driver feels that stability because they have a foundation that keeps the entire coach stable and one unit. That's protecting slide outs. That's protecting all the technology that's inside the coach so that it doesn't get torqued to where a slide out doesn't work, or it doesn't get torqued to where a tile pops, or things like that. So, you know, they've really gone the extra mile with putting together a foundation like that. Now this particular tag axle we call Ultra Steer turns up to 12 degrees, because when our engineers made this specifically for the RV industry, they baselined, hey, we could have coach as short as 38 feet that might require a tag axle someday. And with that in mind, they knew that the geometry of the tires needed to turn at a maximum of 12 degrees. They'll never turn any more than that. And so with that, we've eliminated tire scrub, which means, you know, if you're looking at this tire right here, what would happen if this tire didn't steer is the outside of this tire would get tore up tire scrub. Well, you spend this kind of money on a coach, you don't want tore up tires on the outside edge. So we've eliminated that, and now this coach actually turns sharper than its sister coach, which is probably 40 feet long.
Yeah,
And
decreases it by...
it decreases the turn radius because the wheelbase moves from the center of these two axles to the center line becomes this drive axle.
Right.
So it really gives you a nice tight turn. It's amazing. We could take this coach right out here and just turn it right inside this area right now, and it would just blow you away. We like to say it causes the wow effect for customers.
Right.
So that, you know, we'll pull them into a location. We'll say, okay, make a dry turn, which means just turn your steering wheel all the way, not moving, and then
Anybody watching this right now, I know Joe's not always here, but you know, feel free to reach out to any of us here at Transwest and take one on a test drive. These things, they do drive amazing. You'd be very surprised how tight they turn, like Joe's talking about, and how quiet the ride is going down
Yeah.
going at
Be
high
careful.
speeds
If you're
down
not
Main
ready to buy a coach, don't drive one of these because they drive completely different.
Street. Right. This is kind of cool right here, Joe. So another thing we can't see is a new feature that Freightliner has been installing on the, I think definitely Ventana. I know the Dutch Star over here has it.
Yep.
And that is
It's called brake sync. And brake sync.
brake sync on the back.
I stole your thunder. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I was just going to point it out. So brake sync is located. You can always see it when the coach is all the way down. So this runs back to the back. And here's another one of those bleed lines. So if you pull on this line here, that'll bleed the secondary, you call it?
Well, this is outside of the primary and secondary. It's its own separate system. And what we wanted to do again was create a system that customers could plug into safely and be fully protected by our warranty and by our product. So we call it brake sync. This is the part that you interact with right here. We've found from our customers and from your customers that an supplemental air brake system for the tow vehicle has become more and more popular. And with that popularity, we wanted to make sure that they safely plumbed into our system. And so by doing that, we were able to create a system that you don't see when it's not in use because it's got a black cover on it, but when you need it, it's right there, and again, just super easy to plumb into. Now I said it's separate from the rest of our air system, and so we do have an additional small tank here. This tank is good for 2.5 applications. If it lost air supply, it won't affect the main ever. It has several check valves in it. Those check valves make sure that if there were ever an issue with the plumbing, that it would just turn off the system. And then, of course, you'd be notified in the OptiView system right there on your dash.
Nice.
So other systems don't have that. So again, we wanted to not just take the baseline and recreate something. We wanted to make something that works better for the customer base out there.
Very nice.
So
what's this big red thing here?
Yeah, so yeah, that's your oil pan, right? So this is the bottom side of the.
Anytime it's red, it's Cummins, right?
Yeah, anytime it's red, that's good.
Yeah.
Anytime it's red, it's Cummins. Beyond that, you have your transmission, your Allison over here. The Cummins warranty is 5 years, 100,000 miles. The transmission warranty is 5 years, 200,000 miles. Well, we don't see a lot of issues ever with Allison and Cummins. But they're great. One thing you should know about a diesel engine too is they have very flat torque curves. So other engines like smaller coaches, like gas coaches, the torque curve will come up to very much a point, and it's very high RPM. So they take a lot of fuel to get to the high torque. With diesel, you run at lower RPMs, and you're going to have all the torque. That torque is that power that gets you going. The horsepower is the speed, and everybody's used to horsepower number because of speed, but really what you want is the torque.
Right.
And
keep you up to speed.
Yeah, this one definitely has that in spades. So looking up here,
that's your air cleaner.
Air cleaner. So we talked about this is the oil pan, right? This is there's oil in here. I like to tell customers, remember 1, 2, 3.
Should we go over there? Or is it good right here?
Yeah, let's do it right here.
You can see it all, okay?
Yeah.
No, we were showing it on the back of the Dutch Star.
So right here we have one, you want to make sure your oil's changed, oil filters changed, fuel filters changed. So every year you're going to do fuel filters, oil filters, and change your oil. Now they're going to do some other things too. They're going to grease the zerts, and they might have other things that they need to do. But just on a very basic level. And what do they do the second year?
Cleaner.
Air cleaner, that's right.
Air cleaner's right here, yes.
Yep, so we get the air cleaner here. This whole container is the actual cleaner. So you don't ever just there's no particle filter that you take out of there. You actually replace this whole thing. You're gonna do that every 2 years. And then the last one is the air dryer, which I didn't look for before, but here it is. It's right up here. The air dryer has a filter on top of it. It needs to be replaced every 3 years. Now, the reason I wanted to show you these 3 things is this one right up here, this air dryer filter, is the #1 neglected filter by customers.
Right.
Now you can imagine it's hidden up there and they don't see it.
What happens if you go 5, 6, 7 years and you never even change it?
If you never change it over the course of time, There's desiccant drying pellets inside of that could break free and go all throughout the system, which means every airline could have a pellet in it. It could cost $20,000 or more to go through the entire air system and replumb it.
I'd say that's pretty important.
So it's super important. Remember, it's the clean air for your brakes. So if you want to have clean air for your brakes, you want to make sure that every 3 years you replace the air dryer filter. The number 2, most neglected, believe it or not, is the air cleaner here for the engine.
Right.
And some people think, well, my filter minder says I don't need it, which is the
that's the little
the little vacuum indicator that's on the back of the coach. We can show that.
Yeah, we'll
show it real quick.
It's easier to see over here. Back to the Dutch Star, but it has the same.
But this is the filter minder here. This is a vacuum filter indicator. This little yellow section will go up and tell you when it gets up to change, then you need to change your filter. Now that can be reset every time you use the coach, and right now it's already low and reset, so the filter's fine. But if it comes up, maybe you were in a dust storm, or maybe you passed a semi really close to you and it pulled a vacuum, you could actually just reset it. You could reset it every trip. You could reset it, as often or as you like. But no matter what this says, after 2 years, you want to change that air cleaner. It's the clean air for your engine, and no one wants to have to replace an engine.
Is that air dryer something that's located about the same place on most coaches?
It is.
Whether it's a 450 or a 400 horsepower?
It really depends on the manufacturer. If they ask us to remote locate it, sometimes we remote locate it. And it could be here, it could be up here. But in general, the aftmost axle, it's going to be right up above that on the frame rail.
Very cool. Okay.
That's where our normal location is. Let's see.
Should we show them the Star Foundation since this is right here? It's easier. You're going to be able to see that better in the storage down below here. So for those of you that are wondering what Star Foundation, that's Newmar's strong, true, and robust is what that stands for. So go ahead, Joe, if you want to point out.
So just right there, this structure coming down, the structure on the frame rail itself, and it also goes underneath, so and above. All of that structure gives us not only side-to-side structure, but it gives us front-to-back structure for the entire coach to operate again as one unit and not have flex. With all of that in place, you can tell I really like V-Ride, but with all of that in place, V-Ride and Ultra Steer really are going to give you just an amazing drive as you're going down the road. So, but and I really
we've covered quite a bit.
We have.
We really appreciate you joining us today, and hope that was some helpful knowledge from our rep here, Joe Schneider with Freightliner Custom Chassis.
Yeah. Don't forget, where you buy matters. How the people have taken the effort to bring someone like me in to share with you today, to show you what does make the difference in the coaches. I'm just amazed at how much effort you guys have put into these videos to make sure that your customers have the education that they need out there. So kudos to Transwest. Keep up the good work, and anything we can do at Freightliner to help you, to help your customers have a great experience in the RV industry, we're here for you.
Well, we appreciate it, Joe.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
And again, if you guys need to get a hold of me, you can reach me. This is Grant Russell. You can reach me on my cell. Best, if you have a question, let's say maybe you have interest in this Dutch Star that we just briefly walked through, and Joe did a good demonstration on the drive tech. But that is a nice pre-owned 2021 Dutch Star.
Wow.
4328 floor plan, and I think it's got just over 6,000 miles, so hardly any miles at all on it, and it's like brand new still. So you can reach me best at 720-539-4711, or shoot me an email at grussell, that's 2 S's and 2 L's, at transwest.com, or that cell phone, you can shoot me a text there anytime. So hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
Happy trails.